program implemented throughout the country with the help of the voluntary organizations supported to these projects. Later on, after 2004, Salamanca Statement and Framework for Action on Special Needs Children, we came out with the strategies to include all children with disabilities in the regular classrooms. So, inclusive education concept emerged. In the inclusive education concept, at present we are admitting the children in the regular classroom. There is no doubt in it. But if you are seeing all these children are properly educated there, so no. If I am visiting all the schools at present, I am not able to see the teachers, those who are teaching to these children. Just children are sitting in the classroom and the special teacher is not coming to this because in this RMSA and SSA programs, teachers are appointed for taking care of these children. But they are paid very less so that these teachers are not properly going to the school. One incident happened. We were asked to give the training to the disabled children and as well as the teachers. We trained some teachers for handling of children with disabilities in the regular classroom. After giving training for knowing of how these programs are going on in the schools, one team went and inspected the schools. I went on school and I saw that the teacher who got training in visual impairment, and she was using this highly illuminated magnifier, fitted magnifier, and the children and the child was asked to look at the magnifier which is illuminated highly. So the child was not able to open the eyes. I saw that and I asked the teacher, the child is not able to open the eyes, that something is the problem, but why you are giving this magnifier with highly illuminated, I asked. Sir, when you are giving the training to us, you only told that low vision children are in need of high illumination. But if you are seeing that child, the child is albinistic child. So the albinistic child cannot open the eyes when we are giving the bright light. So such kind of training is there because they are not taking proper condition. We told these things. Sir, at the time I was absent for the class. The teacher is absent for the class, such kind of training is going on at present. So we don't have proper training mechanism at present for taking care of the children who are in the inclusive education program. So what is the condition at present? Nowadays these voluntary organizations are not catering to the needs of these people because we have to take that sustainability and the continuance of all the programs. CBM once supported for all the integrated education program throughout the country, especially for Tamil Nadu. They have given a lot of funds. Later on they stopped. Now we stopped all the integrated education programs. Later on the government has brought out schemes like SSC and RMSC and all. Now they brought out another scheme, yes, right. So all these schemes, they are not appointing the teachers in regular manner and they are not given proper government salary. Even very recently they reduced the salary condition. So I asked one teacher whether you are going to the school properly. She said to me, sorry sir, I am not going regularly. I am going occasionally because they reduced my salary. That is the condition at present prevailing in our education system. So what we have to do, we have to think of all these things because we are not going to have this welfare vision for all these aspects for bringing out all the children of disabilities under this education program. It is the right, as Constitution of India Article 45 says that all children should have the education. It is the right. But we are not providing the rights to these children. We are not bringing the children to this education program. And as I said, even if you are bringing these children in the education sector, and these children are not properly educated because they are not knowing, the teachers are not knowing of anything about them. So they are not able to give the training. So if you are seeing the RC statistics, it says that we need 1.5 lakhs professionals for the field of special education for taking care of these children. Even if you are having all these teachers in our system, whether they are going to teach these people or not, it's questionable at present. because they are not bothering about all these people. They must have that idea, they must be motivated for taking care of this, and that is essential at present. And another aspect, we have developed a lot the technological aspects. And if you are going to any of the schools, I am not able to see this manual braille even. But how far we are going to have this highly technological braille machines and all these things. So we have to provide all the infrastructure facilities to all the schools for taking care of these children. First, we need the training for the teachers. Second, we should develop the infrastructure facilities in all the schools for taking care of these children. And the third thing, the teachers must be provided proper salary structure. If they are all regularized, even they can take care of these children. That's the main condition. So if you are doing so, the children will be coming into this. Even the Tamil Nadu government identified many children, and these children are not in the schools at present. Because at some point of time they are bringing these children to the education program, and sometimes they will be left out from the mainstreaming. Because no one is taking care of those people, so that is happening. Dropouts are more at present. So we have to think of in all the lines, because we are talking about the policies, we are talking about all the principles, we are talking about how to execute all these things, we are talking about IED, SS and all. So when we are talking about all these things, it goes to children, those who are in need of all these things. But there is some lacuna is there, but we have to find it out all the lacunas, and we have to find the solution for it. I went to one of the clinics. It was named as LD clinic in one of the places in Tamil Nadu. I entered into it and I just asked, that is the learning disability clinic. So you test me, at least I want to know whether I am learning disabled or not. So the one doctor, he was named as doctor, he has given some tests to me and I have taken all the tests. Finally he told me that you are dyslexic. You have to take the remedial measures for that. I said, so my age is at present over. I am having very few years of experience in my service, so I don't need. Later on I asked the doctor, how many patients you are getting per day? He said 20%, 20 patients. So how many are identified as learning disabled? So 50% of the people are identified as learning disabled. Later I compared with all these literatures. One expert says that we have 20% of the children who are sitting in the regular classroom are learning disabled. Another statistic says 14% of the people, those who are in the regular classroom, are learning disabled. So you think of that, if you are classifying all these learning disabilities in the regular classroom, most of the children are coming under this learning disability. Once J.P. Singh, when he was the member secretary of the RCA, when the PWD Act 1919 was introduced, he was asked one question. And sir, why didn't you take up this learning disability as one of the disabilities in the category of this PWD Act? He told at the time, when we are segregating this population as learning disability, they will be labeled as learning disabled. So where to go for serving these people? And the stigma will be there. So what we have to do means, it is not essential at present for our country. At least what we have classified under PWD Act 1994, the 7 categories will be served properly. Later on we will think of other disability conditions, use it. So at present we are having a lot of, if we are taking the rights of persons with the Disabilities Act 2016, it brings out all the categories of disabilities. So now we have to think how we are going to serve all these persons with the disabilities, all these children with the disabilities. How we are going to have this structure that should be improved in regular schools for bringing out all children. So in such a way we have to think it over, and later on we have to go for methodology, how to teach. Later on we have to go for improving other aspects. First of all, our main aim is to bring out all the children under umbrella of education. So we have not done so far, we have to take care of all these things. So this is the great occasion for all of you, as they are conducting the one-day international conference, bringing of all great experts here. Here Rangasai sir, my teacher, actually is a very senior most person in the field. He is a mentor also for all of us. And my great friend Anil Akiripal is here and is having a lot of experience, and Madam is related to the field of dyslexia. So great people from various places have come here for giving you a lot of sources, informations, and you can enjoy the day. And I am happy to inaugurate this international conference. Thank you so much for bringing me here. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your interesting and informative thoughts on the topic. I extend a hearty welcome to Dr. N. Ravindranath Tagore, Registrar, Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, Chennai. Our students will felicitate sir now. We are indeed honored by your presence here today, sir. We also welcome Professor Jayachandran in absentia. Oh, I'm sorry, Professor Jayachandran. Our keynote speaker for the day is Dr. Mulai Ramaya Arunachalam, President, National Organization for Dyslexia, Malaysia. May I humbly request the dignitaries on the dais to take their seats with the audience now. It's my honor and pleasure to introduce ma'am for Dr. Arunachalam is a retired associate professor from the Faculty of Languages and Linguistics, University of Malaya. She founded the National Organization for Dyslexia, NOD, Malaysia in September 2015. She received a certificate in the American Orton Gillingham Teaching and advanced certificate in the teaching of children with dyslexia. With the exposure gained, she was able to develop a Tamil teaching kit called Olivari, which became popular not only in Malaysian schools but also adopted by teachers in India and Indian diaspora in Santa Clara, USA. The top priority of NOD has been to curb dropout rate of dyslexic children and has been involved in several awareness programs and teacher training programs for the same. NOD also provides one-on-one education to children, planned and systematized according to their ability levels. Currently, NOD is involved in a research in crime and dyslexia with the Social and Strategic Foundation Malaysia to find the correlation between juvenile delinquency and dyslexic children. The findings would prove immensely valuable in advising policy changes in the education system of Malaysia. We are privileged to have you in our midst today, ma'am. May I now request Mulai Ramaya ma'am to deliver the keynote address. Page for now. பரவாயில்லம்மா நான் இந்த பேச்சு வந்து இதில் படிச்சுக்கிறேன் போட்டிருக்காரா ஸ்பீக்கர் போர்டில் போட்டிருக்காரு எஸ் 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 ப்ரெசன்டேஷன் நான் இப்போ போட வேண்டாம் யா நாட் yet ஓ later please when I'm talking about it yes yeah okay they can stand here okay most respected Dr. Lalita Rajendran and most respected Professor S. Thangasamy and my other co-speakers and participants of this conference, and particularly Dr. Apita and Nitya Kalyani, who was in direct contact with me and invited me here. To all of you, Vanakkam.
First, I must say that I'm most honored to be invited as a keynote speaker to the sacred place donated for the disabled by Annal Dr. MGR. No place could be more sacred than where God's children are helped. I'm also honored to be among the august gathering which is poised to earn the Punyam Kodi which Bharati talks about. He says that building 1,000 temples and feeding 1 million people is not equal to get the letter, teach the letter to somebody who is disabled. I take that Elai there as a disabled. ஒரு ஏழைக்கு எழுத்தறிவித்தல் தான் புண்ணியம் கோடி தரும் என்கிறார். So I take it as that. And we are here today to teach a man to fish and feed him for a lifetime. We are all a breed who believes in Makkal Sevai is Mahesan Sevai. The Hindu paper last week reported from the annual status of education report 2018 that 59% of class 5 students could not read the class 2 text in rural schools, and that 78% could not do division sums in private schools. I'm not saying they are either having dyscalculia or having dyslexia, but there are so many problems out there that what has been a normal process, reading, writing, and doing arithmetic for all of us, generally, has now become a problem. It could be because now more and more of us are aware of these problems. If not, the numbers are alarming. My address will first cover the emerging trends in educating those with learning disabilities and move on to show what could happen if disabilities are not addressed using our Malaysian context. Of course, all of us are very familiar with inclusive education. Now, we are here going to look at particular inclusions, okay? Full-time in a general education school. My speech will not cover the deaf and the dumb and the with speech problems, but it will talk about all the other learning disabilities. Now, if you have children in a full-time in general education, mixing that with the disabled, that will prove good because children will learn to accept those who are disabled, and those who are disabled will learn to adjust with the abled. But part-time in a special education resource room in general education school will be far better than that. I have seen this working very beautifully in the United States, where the children are taken out of the classroom for 50 minutes or so and given special education and then sent back to the class. The next is full-time in special education, self-contained classroom in a general education school. That means you have, these kids are in the same school, but they are contained in a different classroom with all the disabilities. Okay, and you may have 2 or 3 teachers taking care of them, but they don't mix with the main group. Okay, and the fourth one is in a separate special education school. Okay, like they have in Singapore, we call it the Pathlight, where all the learning disabled children will go to, and they are doing a fantastic job. Okay, they have properly trained teachers who take care of the children, and they're each very specific in their training, so they're able to churn out kids who are almost fully recovered from their disability. And then, of course, there is the residential facility where children are put together with other children. I haven't seen this work, but I haven't seen this kind of a school, rather. Okay, and then there is the home tuition, where the teacher comes to the home, where the parents are there, and it's still inclusion. They are not taken out and put together with other kids who are disabled. And of course, in a hospital where they are seriously disabled. In Malaysia, there are 7,217 government schools, in which 100 selected schools have grouped children with the disabilities and put them together in one classroom of about 25 children with 2 teachers. That is the third one, full-time and special education self-contained classroom in a general education school. As an educationist and as a hardcore practitioner, I find this difficult to accept, because when one puts children with autism, dyslexia, dyscalculia, ADHD, dysgraphia, dyspraxia, etc., and sometimes Down syndrome even, together with 2 teachers to take care of them, who would they attend to? Who will the teachers attend to? They are all grouped together for want of teachers. Okay? This is not working at all. I have seen this, and this is done in Malaysia, and it is just proving bad. It's not working at all. Okay? Each one of the disorder is different from the other, and each one needs a different kind of attention and teaching approach. And the instructors trained in these various disorder strategies? Okay, how can a teacher be trained in all these disorders? It is quite impossible. So, but this is what is happening. It's just in Tamil we say kan tudaippu, they're just doing it because they want to please the parents, and that's it. But no learning is taking place there. So we got to be very careful there. It is unconscionable and illegal to view placement as a universal issue and place every child in the exact same environment without investigating his or her unique needs, says Winnie O'Leary with 25 years of experience. Personally, I have seen full-time in a general education classroom and part-time in a special education resource room do wonders to a child. The child gets to socialize and retains his or her self-identity in the larger classroom, yet gets his special education for an hour or so daily in a special classroom. The teacher is specialized in that particular disorder that she's addressing. Sometimes it is one-on-one instruction or a small group of children with the same disorder at the same level. Okay, one can be in standard 5 and one can be in standard 2, but the level of achievement can be the same. So they can be put together and taught. The other children in the classroom learn to accept them. When they come back to the mainstream, the other children accept them, and that itself teaches the value of accepting others who are less fortunate and kindness of wanting to help. We don't need to teach morals. Seeing and moving with these children will bring about tolerance and helping tendencies, and also make them realize how fortunate they are. And the disabled child will feel accepted and will grow with self-respect and self-esteem. Now, the second emerging trend is early intervention and prevention. We all know about it, okay? This is very, very important, because when you don't catch them young, it's going to be very serious as they grow up. Okay. It is said that children who are placed in nurseries at 2 may surpass marginal difficulties without even realizing it. However, we must also allow children to bloom before we label them. Personally, I tell parents to come in when they're about 6 or 7, because I don't believe in making decisions before that, because children do blossom, you know. We must give them time. So let them be at home, like Dr. was saying to me, you know, children should be de-schooled till a certain age, you know. They should be living with parents and mixing around in the environment, and they will learn a lot more by feeling, touching, you know. They learn a lot more by moving with others. They learn a lot more than in a contained school. Okay, so 6 or 7 for dyslexia or dyscalculia and all that, that should be fine. They can come in then. The earlier detected and addressed will make an enormous difference to the life of the child. If identified at a later stage, more involved interventions would be necessary. It becomes more difficult. Like I have kids coming to me at 14 and 17 from private schools where they don't care about these kids. We think private schools provide everything because money is given to them, but it's not true. Okay? They too marginalize these children. You see, because they are more interested in getting the A students to get A+, rather than catering for these kids with problems. Now, number 3 is another emerging trend, that's technology. Technology can support students in overcoming a variety of challenges and limitations. However, to be comfortable using different technologies to their fullest, teachers need to be well versed and use existing technology in new and alternative ways. Creative approaches to instruction and differentiation for individual learning styles are especially important. Transition planning. Okay, when they leave primary school and they go into secondary school, when they leave secondary school and go into tertiary education or vocational education, the transition planning is so important. They need a lot of help in the transition. So that smooth transition must be ensured. And number 5 will be training. This is not all. I'm just taking the main ones in the emerging trends. The Ministry of Education should educate a large number of teachers in special education. All over the world, there is a critical shortage of teachers for various reasons. Teaching the disabled requires passion and patience. In the US, the enrollment rate is low for training programs for special needs, and the exit rate is alarmingly high. There is also an emerging trend to offer licenses to teachers who are trained for short periods. I really recommend this because it can be done. I do that. I train teachers for short periods. They're already teachers in some other ways, you know. They're trained in a teachers training college, but when they have to handle a disabled, short training colleges will do a lot. You know, they can be trained. It's very feasible. Okay? On the other hand, there is also the move to do away with the degrees in special education, like degrees in special education. Do away with those degrees and fold it into the main teacher's education. You know, you can teach them phonetics. If you teach them phonetics, they can handle dyslexia. For dysgraphia, it's so easy to train the teacher. You know, for dyscalculia, it is easy to train the teacher. This can all be folded into the main teacher's training program. All said and done, specificity is very important. Teachers have to know who they are teaching and the teaching approach thoroughly. Traditional methods or approaches will not suffice in teaching the disabled. Okay, I'm now going to do a presentation which will show the damages if the disabled are not attended to. இது போடணும். Yes. Okay, in Malaysia, 314,000 school-going children are dyslexic. 160,000 children from primary school are dyslexic. Yes. So, this is very important because you should know about Indians in Malaysia. 600 Indian students drop out of school before they complete standard 6 or grade 6, whatever you call it here. And 7,000 Indian students drop out of school before they complete final year at school. 7,000 Indian students. 2,000 Indian students fail in every subject when they leave school, in every subject when they leave school in standard 11, which is your pre-university? A PU. Is that your PU?
Yes.
Yes, yeah. Okay, when that's our last school year, standard 11, when they leave school, they fail in every subject. So we got to think, why? And only 5% of Indian youth enroll in tertiary education or vocational education. 28,900 Indian youth are seriously involved in crime. 21% of Indian youth below 20 years of age are involved in crime. 24% of Indian youth are involved in heinous crimes. You know, you can't wear a chain in Malaysia. You can't wear a bangle in Malaysia. They will attack you. They are armed, most of them, and they will, sip off your chain, and that's it. You know, it's such a daily thing there. So crime has become part and parcel of life. And who are these children? We will wonder. The reasons for the state of affairs are, this is what everybody says: poverty, broken families, environment, government marginalization. Because we are a minority, we are only 7% of the population, we say government is always marginalizing us. It is true. It is true. The Bhumiputras, or the Malays as you call them, they are the Mannin Maindargal, Bhumiputras. They are given everything in a silver platter, whereas we are not. We have to work for it. So that it is there, government marginalization. And of course, poverty and broken families, all this will, environment, wrong friendships, all this will contribute to bad education. And also, yes, there is a causal relationship between poor socio-economic status and crime. Okay, but not only the poor go into crime, but majority of those who go into crime belong to the lower SES. The medical science implies that dyslexia is a neurological dysfunction which appears to correlate with some kind of criminality. Okay, but that's only a very small number, this neurological dysfunction, and because of that they go into crime. The major reason is dyslexia, because dyslexia affects persons across socioeconomic status and ethnicity, and 1 out of 5 has some form of reading problems, says Sally Savage. She's a leading authority in dyslexia, and she says across the world, 1 out of 5 has some kind of reading problem. They can be anywhere along the continuum. They can be very seriously dyslexic or mildly dyslexic, but some kind of reading problem. This is what I felt when I read The Hindu. When they said 59% cannot read, it can be this also. Okay. Thousands in the upper and middle classes also have been affected by dyslexia. but the pushing factors are negligible. They don't have to necessarily go into crime because the parents are there, the financial facility is there to look after them, so they need not go into crime. But the poor will be lured into crime. It is those with a poor SES and dyslexia who go into crime in large numbers. But when an inquiry was done with juvenile delinquents in the USA, Britain and Sweden, it was found that on working backwards, they went to the juvenile prison and they worked backwards to know what kind of childhood they had. And they found out that their schooling and academic capacity was shockingly correlated to their entry into crime because of dyslexia. Okay? Because they lose their self-esteem, self-respect, nobody cares about them. They are by definition intelligent. IQ level of the dyslexic child is either average or high. That's why you have Einstein and Leonardo da Vinci, Graham Bell, Churchill, up to our Lee Kuan Yew, who are all dyslexic. Because of their power, the IQ, they overcame it. So a child with all the brains and not being accepted will definitely look for identity. So that is why they go into crime. Stephen James MacDonald says there is overrepresentation of dyslexics among juvenile delinquents. This is the book that I have in my bag, if anybody is interested. Okay, it is all on crime and dyslexia. And if you go to Google, you will find pages and pages of research done overseas which correlates dyslexia to crime. But how is dyslexia connected to crime? Critchley made a direct association between crime and dyslexia. Blake relates a story. Just listen to the story. A 26-year-old death row inmate who is both dyslexic and had ADHD could not hold a job because of his learning disabilities. He got involved in drug dealing and killed someone impulsively. Okay, you must remember dyslexic children are very impulsive, highly impulsive. Being impulsive is a classic characteristic of a dyslexic and even more so of an ADHD child. So this is tragic because both problems were treatable but ignored, resulting in destructive consequences. So we are just selling children over to crime. The educational model implies that because of educational failure, it is easy for dyslexics to drift into juvenile, antisocial behavior and subsequently criminal careers in adulthood. If pupils with disabilities experience difficulties due to impairments, schools have a legal responsibility to support them in overcoming their educational barriers. Can you sue a school here when they return a child without knowing how to read and write? I don't know about India. Can you sue the school? No. In our constitution, it's clearly written that you cannot sue the school. But in America, they sue the school. Because after 6 years or 10 years, your child comes out without knowing the basic R's, three R's, reading, writing, and arithmetic. How can you let the school go? You know, when surgery is not properly done, you sue the hospital. This is worse than that. You cripple the child for life without addressing it. Okay, school failure has been universally recognized as a precursor to antisocial behavior in adolescents and young adults. The link between educational failure and delinquency is undeniable. Okay, I'm coming to the end of my presentation. There are about 530 Tamil schools in Malaysia. Okay, and so many are dropping out. So I have developed a comprehensive Tamil kit to help these children read. This is a phonetic method, phonetic approach if you like it. It is a comprehensive kit which will enable children to turn over 100%, most probably. Okay? Because Sally Shavitz says, with proper approach and education, they can change 100% because the IQ is high. Okay. Now, making the right real, this was my topic today. You know, accepting the right of the disabled as a reality and providing them their rightful education and bringing them as close as possible to the abled should be our goal. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your valuable insights on the benefits of early intervention and how we can prevent the permanent scarring of dyslexic children if intervened early. Your speech put forth the bare facts as well as it evoked your maternal concern for them. Thank you, ma'am. Today's special address would be given by Professor R. Rangasai, Chair, Audiology Committee, International Association of Logopedics and Phoniatrics, Malta. Professor Rangasai has served as Technical Director and Professor at Dr. S. Chandrasekhar Institute of Speech and Hearing, Bangalore. He has also served as the ex-director and professor of Ali Yar Jung National Institute for the Hearing Handicapped, National Institute for Orthopedically Handicapped, National Institute for Mentally Handicapped, and Composite Regional Center for Persons with Disabilities, Bhopal and Ahmedabad. He is currently a member of BIS in his personal capacity and member of ICMR's Task Force on Deafness. He is the founder member of IEEE Disability Group Bangalore. He was the president of Indian Speech and Hearing Association between 1986 and 87 and later between 2014 and 15. Sir is all eager to start his speech and I would not come in his way, and over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Dear Dr. Lata Rajendran, Dr. Manivannan, Dr. Mullai Ramaya, Mr. Albert Gaffarao, Mr. Madhiji Cornelsen, Professor Jayachandran sir, Mr. Akhil Palji, my Professor Nare Manoharan, my colleagues from national institutes, delegates. I'm so privileged to be here, to be meeting with all of you and share few points. These points are more reiterating than anything that probably you will not know already. I'm sure you all know this, but I thought that I'll bring it back to your kind notice again. My previous speaker, Dr. Mullai, I think I should start reflecting on that, where she said that there are a large number of persons with dyslexia. In India too, it is true. But all that I would like to bring to your kind notice is, Dr. Lata, and then maybe Saraswati here, and few of us have done a program on multi-disability, assessing students with multi-disability, that is MHHI, called multi-handicapped hearing impaired children. This was offered by Institute for the Deaf in Netherlands. And we found that there are about 30% of children in special schools to have additional handicap. The handicap can vary either with visual problem, deafness with visual problem, or deafness with intellectual problem, or deafness with dyslexia, deaf dyslexic, deaf motorics, people with motoric problem. This is about 20 to 30% in special schools. But whereas you must be aware of Bala Vidyalaya, a school for very young children with hearing impairment. They take all the kids for intervention, and their total failure out of 100 is 5. The remaining 95% to go into inclusive school. basic point that I want to bring it forward is, by the time we identify dyslexia in the children, they are 5, 6 plus, before you tell them that they have a problem. But if you provide early intervention to all children, that's something that I have been proposing also. Let us look at ways of improving their vestibular system in terms of their vestibular training, as well as increasing their attention right from the child. It should be universal baby's developmental process. That's something that I feel will augur well in this. I think being the last speaker of the day, what all I thought have already been very well covered by Dr. Manivannan as well as Madam, and of course Dr. Lata Rajendran also covered few points. But still, I want to underline that education and employment are two eyes of development. But what are the prerequisites for development? Housing. Second is transport. Third is communication. Fourth is attention as opposed to neglect. If you neglect somebody also, that person is not going to get. But if these conditions are taken, and health of course, if these conditions are taken care, they take you to zero level. But education and employment that add value to the human development. So therefore, what a doctor does, or what an audiologist will do, or what a psychologist does in assessment, diagnosis and intervention, all of us take them to a zero level. And then the development is marked by education and employment. Okay, be that as it may. Madam had also rightly pointed out, if you want to educate all children in a community, you need to have all those 6 different approaches. One, a child who can directly join in general education, in spite of disability. Then the question comes, how can a child with a disability manage fully well? As sir had also rightly, Dr. Manivannan rightly pointed out, the definition of disability varies from different country, and in India also, when they say this percentage of people have problem, their definition is different. So there are few children, like I can recall an episode where we visited one school in Chengalpattu district. There was a child with hearing loss. I had a hearing aid with me. Believe me, I just fitted the hearing aid to the child. The face of the child bloomed, simply bloomed. And we made arrangement to provide the child with the required hearing aid, and then moved on. The point is, with that aid, the child would have done. Like 5% of children with hearing impairment are partially hearing. They learn natural speech, but speech is defective. So give them a hearing aid, they do very well. So like that, the first is that. Second is one with a resource teacher, resource room facility, second level. Third is a special school. Fourth is a special school with a residential facility. Fifth is homebound instruction. And sixth is you need to also have alternate schooling facilities. Which is very important. Like those who have dropped out, what will they do? So this is an important point. But in India and all over the world, policy has been declared that we include all persons with disabilities, or all children with disabilities. This word inclusion really presupposes few things. And one of the most important thing is that the society is prepared to make necessary adjustment as opposed to integration. When we were proposing integration, we wanted these children to prepare themselves to enter into society. Whereas in inclusion, it is the society that prepares itself to accept diversity among human life and living. Diversity. So therefore, inclusion is okay. Now we all know that inclusion at least in India, I'm sure elsewhere also, has not worked all that well. There are many children who have gone into inclusive schools, have come back to special schools, and with a much lower level than children in special school. This has been the wide, few reasons are there, and one of them being that all children are passed up to 7th standard. So by the time they are assessed and filtered, they have crossed that age. They feel that, so this has been one of the major issues. But please believe that failure is not failure. In fact, we are a part of an evolving civil society. In evolving civil society, nothing has happened in this world overnight. Everything has gone with some time frame, some strategy. And in that strategy, I should share with you a good example of the Nobel laureate in hearing science. There is only one gentleman who has received a Nobel Prize till now. His name is von Beckerschi. He received Nobel Prize in the year 1961. For his, he is told how we all hear, till date that is valid. But then what inspired him is very interesting. He went to a museum in Austria. He was going through whatever was depicted there. You know, the caveman's carvings. What did the cave people carve essentially? About a sun, maybe an arrow, maybe about a cattle. And this continued for 3,000 years without any change. Same carvings were seen done by cavemen for 3,000 years display. Then suddenly one fellow had painted a plant. So that means he changed his way of thinking. And it didn't continue for long. In the next 300 years, there was another fellow who painted the same plant as caught in wind. So he said, what change in thought did not happen for 3,000 years have happened in 300 years. So let us change our thinking, how we do things. So that's how it happened. Why I am telling is the human evolution, the way the civilized world has moved is very fast and very long. And now we are in a knowledge-based society, and I am pretty much sure that such deliberations will take us ahead. Teacher training program, sir, had very nicely brought out the need to how a teacher didn't know and missing classes. It does happen. Should it happen? It should not happen. Can it be addressed? It can be addressed. Will it be possible in our societies to do? Awareness will have to increase. People will have to be part of it. Parental education will have to go through it. All this, it's not one teacher program. Like Madam said that you can sue a school. School is not a building in any case. Ultimately, it will be me and you who are working in the school who will get sued. So 8th standard teacher will say, no, I taught everything well. It's only the 9th teacher who did not teach. So ultimately, it leads to a different framework there. But what is important is accountability is something that has to be there, which is very important. And there is one more challenge that Tamil Nadu, Karnataka may face. This is about rubella immunization has come in place in these two states. For rubella, all girls are being immunized. Sooner or later, as such, with vitamin A being introduced, lot of childhood blindness got prevented. Many schools for children with visual impairment were running short of number of children. Now, with the cause for blindness and deafness in India, 40% are deaf due to maternal rubella. If rubella is taken care, you will certainly have surplus number of teachers in existing schools. So therefore, as far as teacher education, teacher training is concerned, one will have to anticipate at least 40% or more reduction in hearing deafness as well as in visual impairment in the days to come. In the next, say, 5 years or so, you will have surplus number. You won't get even this many children in schools, happily enough. But the point is, on the part of the employer, there is need to redeploy their forces. You can read what happened in 1960s in US, where they went through a similar situation when they, in 1960, they did rubella immunization. Even till date, we have not got the entire country covered. And the other part I wish to talk, technology has already been spoken about. TLM and equality in teaching technology can go a long way. Maybe I'll cover it as part of my speech later on. Bullying prevention is something I would like it to happen. In inclusive education, all these children, even we were all bullied, but then we knew how to cope with it. Whereas children with special needs, when they are bullied, they are in doubly cornered they are. So therefore, this is an area which needs attention. And then probably, I'm not going to take much of the time. I would conclude by saying that 2 points. One is that sustainable development can happen in this sector, particularly in manpower development, only if there is publicly funded programs. If there are no publicly funded programs, you are not going to get high fee. Nobody will pay high fee in disability education sector to join you. Because even after they complete and come out, there is not much of scope for them even to live. I mean, if I am a man, if I have to work in disability as a special educator, I may get a salary of 15,000 rupees. And how am I going to live? So this is one, and over and above, if I have to pay for 2 years, you wanted to increase the quality of education, so you made courses from 1 year to 2 years, and most of the seats are going vacant. If you have 25 seats, there are only 3 or 5 students who join in special education. One is because of fee. Second, from some village he or she comes. How will they sustain themselves? So I have been proposing in every platform that publicly funded training program is a must in disability sector, particularly in special education. And number 2, please give them scholarship and stipend, and give them free education if they are, and give geographical distribution also. Don't give people, everybody from Chennai only, everybody from cities only. Take geographical distribution, give them free education, and then take a bond so that they go back and work in their own districts. So this is something that ought to happen if something more will have to come. So that is point number 1. Number 2 is again a challenge. I have worked in bringing out change in few schools in this part of the country, and I realized that any school will change if only you 3 levels of training. 1, train the management. Number 2, train the teachers. Number 3, train the parents. And number 4, give them resources for change. So what I would, then it came to me that we should have MEd, special education or education, MEd, as a change agent only. This person will only be who changes the game. He will be placed in a school, he will work in the school, bring about change for 1 year, and then have one more school and have monitored this school for 1 more year. 2 to 3 years are required before change comes. It's not just inclusive. You train one teacher and that teacher tomorrow gets transferred or goes on leave, nothing happens there. So therefore, this is the way. If you want to bring about change in school, every school should get this kind, and this can happen when only we have a trained person who can go and work on it. So these are my few thoughts. I have many more to share later on in my talk, but I really appreciate patient hearing and for giving me this opportunity, and it is just wonderful. I think I learned so much more, and we are all going to learn much more today through this session. Thank you so much
for your insightful talk and aptly pointing out the significance of education and employment and how these two work in hand. May I now request Professor Jayachandran, Director, Vijay Human Services, to kindly come up on the dais. Our students would like to felicitate you, sir.
Wonderful.
Thank you, ma'am. Following this, we are going to have our release of the proceedings. To mark this significant occasion, the hosts have brought out a publication of the day's proceedings. It is a compilation of about 100 articles based on the 11 themes pertaining to the topic of today's conference. May I now request Dr. Mr. Albert Gafarov, Officer in Charge of Scientific, Technical and Economical Programs, Russian Center of Science and Culture, Chennai, to do the honors of releasing the proceedings. May I request all the dignitaries to kindly come up on the stage. So we'd like to unveil the proceedings. Dr. N. Ravindranath Tagore, Registrar, Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, will receive the first copy. Open it and give. Thank you very much, everyone. We have come to the close of the inauguration ceremony. May I now request Dr. Apita Savapati, Dean, students, Dr. M.J. Janaki College of Arts and Science for Women, to propose the vote of thanks.
A very good morning, one and all present here. Honorable Chief Guest, Dr. E.M. Manivannan, Dr. Mullai Ramaya Arunachalam, Professor H. Rangasai, and Mr. Albert Gafarov, our most valued invited speakers, delegates, participants, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the organizing committee of the International Conference on Emerging Trends in Educating Persons with Disability, it is my pleasure to express gratitude to all the dignitaries on the dais for gracing this occasion. This event is a collaborative effort of two institutions, Dr. MGR Institute of Special Education and Research and Tamil Nadu Teacher Education University, and we are highly appreciative of the leadership, encouragement and extensive support provided by Dr. S. Thangaswamy, Vice Chancellor, Tamil Nadu Teacher Education University, Chennai. We express our thanks to Dr. N. Rabindran Tagore, Registrar, Tamil Nadu Teacher Education University, Chennai, for providing the context of deliberations. On behalf of the institution, I express my gratitude to Dr. Manivannan, Professor and Head, School of Special Education, Tamil Nadu Open University, Chennai, and former Controller of Examination, Tamil Nadu Teacher Education University, for his presence and inspiring inaugural address. Our special thanks to Dr. Mullai Ramaiah Arunachalam, President, National Organization of Dyslexia, Malaysia, for delivering the keynote address and providing a wider base for discussion on diversified issues during the conference. We thank Professor R. Rangasai, Chair, Audiology Committee, International Association of Logopedics and Phonetics, for sharing his expertise on language skills for the children with disabilities. Our heartfelt gratitude to Mr. Albert Gafarov, Officer in Charge, Scientific, Technical and Economical Programs, Russian Center, for releasing the proceedings of the conference. Our thanks to Dr. Matthias Cornelius for accepting our invite. Many of the experts having vast experience in the field have been keen enough to accept our request to be present as invited speakers during the conference. We would like to thank our distinguished invited speakers who are here to share their views on the importance of educating children with special needs and deserve the compliments for making their presence to grace the occasion. Thanks are due to all the participants who have a unique opportunity to learn from the experts in educating the disabled. I will be failing in my duty if I do not underline a very important role played by Dr. Lata Rajendran, Principal, Dr. MGR Institute of Speech and Hearing Impaired, for her tireless effort in organizing the conference in hand with the committee members. Thank you for your support and excellent service. Any event of such magnitude cannot be made possible without the proper technical support and also the logistics and event management in an organized manner. We are thankful to the technicians for providing the required support. I am sure that the deliberations of this conference will be fruitful and that everyone will take back insights from this conference. Thank you all for participating in this conference. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, we move on to our much-awaited technical session. Disability is one of the most important issues in the contemporary society because stigmatization of people with disabilities contribute in the formation of biases and prejudices, which in turn places such people at a disadvantageous position. It is the need of the hour to ensure that educators and general public become aware of the special needs of students with disabilities. Our guest speakers today will broach upon varied topics relating to the central theme of educating persons with the disability. Words, people with disabilities is crucial for their social standing and their ability to stand on an equal ground with regular people. Our first speaker for the day would be Dr. Matthias Cornelissen, Director, Indian Psychology Institute, Pondicherry. Sir will highlight on the topic, Applying Principles of Integral Psychology in Inclusive Education. I take great pleasure in introducing our guest. Dr. Matthias Cornelissen teaches integral psychology at Sri Aurobindo International Center of Education. He co-founded Mirambika, a research center for integral education while working for the Delhi branch of Sri Aurobindo Ashram between 1977 and 1992. He moved to the main branch of Sri Aurobindo Ashram in 1992 and is presently involved in a variety of projects concerned with the development of a new approach to psychology based on the Indian tradition. To this end, he founded the Sri Aurobindo Center for Consciousness Studies in 2001 and the Indian Psychology Institute in 2006. Besides the several conferences, seminars, and workshops that he has organized, Dr. Cornelissen has also edited 3 books on Indian psychology. Sir, may I now request you to address the gathering.
A very good morning to all of you. There's something funny that I hear all the time, that I'm the director of an Indian Psychology Institute. And I think the issue is mutual, except I think for only one person. All of you are clearly Indian, and yet most of you have been involved in Western education, and even in Western psychology. And of course, mainstream education, mainstream academics has contributed lots to the world. But it is extremely one-sided. And my experience has been that the Indian tradition has a lot to contribute to the global life, to global understanding of reality. And I would say especially in the field of psychology, in the field of relationships between people, understanding each other. And the fact that we have all gone through Western education, you as much as I, has created some kind of a disability in all of us. Because we have learned too much to be objective. And we have, in Western education, there has grown this strange idea that we should give the same education to everybody. And I think that is a real tragedy, because we are all different. And the Indian tradition, which was more person to person, based on individual relationships, has much to contribute. Some people use this term differently abled, but each one of us is differently abled. And some people have said that, say, dyslexia creates criminality, or at least is a contributing factor. Bad education is a contributing factor to many of the ills of society. And it is not just criminality, it is also voting into power people who are clearly not suitable to be into power, which you see all over the world. Democracy is nice when people are wise, and a disaster when people are not. And education, to quite an extent, is not really contributing to wisdom. It is not that half of the children in the 5th standard don't know division. Maybe division is not the most important thing to know. But it is a disaster that half of the people, or 3/4 of the people, feel that they are insufficient, that they have failed. Just imagine that you start life with the basic sense that you are not good enough. And all those children who are still not capable of reading a 2nd standard textbook, or who are not capable of doing division, or whatever it is, they feel that they are failing. And they start life not only by lacking a technical skill, but by lacking a basic trust. Someone mentioned that many teachers don't have the motivation to come to school to teach. But the way they teach, it is not surprising that they have no motivation to come. Because if you think that teaching is just telling the syllabus to students who are not interested in the syllabus, obviously the students are not interested, and then after a while you are not interested. If your interest was to help each child to grow to his maximum potential, there would be a very different situation. I've worked for some time with the teachers of municipal schools in Delhi. And in many ways, that was one of the best times of my life. Because these people had the skills. They were very well qualified, intelligent, everything. But they had extremely low motivation because their classes were boring. Their students were not interested. Their students came largely from low educated strata of the society. So neither they were giving the students anything, nor were the students giving them anything. And the only thing needed to change that was to help them to look after the individual needs of the children in their class. And even in a group of 30, 40 children, you can do that. It is a little more complicated, obviously, there is a small group, but still, you can do it better. And once these teachers saw that you can actually do it, that if you treat children well, that they are very eager to learn, the whole fabric of that classroom changed completely because the children were eager to learn. Then the teachers started bringing things from home to help the children to learn. Then the children got more enthusiastic, the teacher got more enthusiastic, and something started rolling. Yeah? So it is like seeing a desert bloom or something like that. Because there is children by themselves want to learn. And if they don't want to learn, it is because we teachers spoil it. Yeah? There is a small group of people who enjoy schooling. 10%, 20%. Unfortunately, they become the teachers next time. Yeah? But what about those 90%? They don't like it either because it's boring for them or because it is too difficult for them, but it doesn't work. Yeah? Now, it's not that difficult to change this, but as a previous speaker said, you need the management to understand, you need at least a few of the teachers to understand it well, then you have to help the parents to begin to understand, and then you can change the whole climate. But you need indeed, I think that's a marvelous idea, you need change agents. You need a special MAT for people who want to make change. And that should be a really highly priced thing. I don't bother whether it is high in terms of salary or so, but it should be a job that is really priced as the most valuable thing you can contribute to society. And if you can add to that, that you value what is really positive and helpful in the Indian tradition, you get something that's extremely rich. And I'll just give you one example. I think many of you must have learned some amount of psychology. In the beginning of last century, in 1912 or so, psychology exiled consciousness. And it changed from the science of consciousness into the science of behavior. Yeah? Now, one of the people who was really promoting this change was a person called Watson. And in his first article, where he promoted behaviorism, he literally said, if you want to be a good scientist, behaviorist style, then you should treat your subjects like the ox you slaughter. He used these words. Yeah? Now, he should have gone straight to jail or something like that. Just imagine a teacher in a class who looks at the children as at the ox he's going to slaughter. I mean, that's a disaster. Yeah? But strange enough, he got away with this. And whenever you look up psychology, you will see still that it is a science of behavior. To do something about someone else's behavior is manipulative. We shouldn't even try. You try to help the other person to understand himself and be the best he can be. To do it in terms of behavior is that you degrade the other person to an object. It is not our business, my business, to treat you as an object. Why the heck would I do it? Yeah? It's not respectful. I should treat you as a subject. And they did all that because they didn't know how to study consciousness. They had no philosophy for it, they had no technology for it. But India has that. Because India, as a you can say, a knowledge system, or as a long tradition of culture, has focused on consciousness. All the old tradition, it is in the end about chit, it is about consciousness. And if we could recover that ability to really study consciousness, the whole of psychology would change and society would change, because we could do something about the basic motivation of children, and with that, the motivation of grown-ups. The things that go wrong in society are all because of lack of motivation, lack of care for other people, a negative consciousness. Schools at the moment create negative consciousness because they are good only for a very small group of students. They are not inclusive, actually. They are not inclusive of 95% of the students. And this can be changed. I have a dictionary of philosophy. It has no entry for consciousness. Can you imagine? Yeah? Without consciousness, we would literally not exist. You cannot have love if you have no consciousness. You cannot have commitment if you have no consciousness. You cannot have knowledge without consciousness. Knowledge without consciousness is blips of information or something like that. Nobody has it. Yeah? You need consciousness to have meaning. And Western mainstream academics have chucked that whole concept out of the discussion. And we cannot be without consciousness. It is central to our existence. We are our consciousness. And the Indian tradition has worked out how to study it, how to become rigorous in your subjectivity, how to refine your understanding. It has done it. And so I personally think it is high time that India wakes up and doesn't get into the politics of caste and religion and all that. That is horrible. But get into the depths of the culture, that basic understanding of ourselves as conscious beings in this world with goodwill and love and care for others. It's not that complicated. And in education, I've talked a lot with people about their own experiences in education. Because with teachers, that is what you have to start with. How was it for you to be in the class? What were your relations with teachers? In the end, it all settles around respect. The best experience that people have from their school time is always a teacher who respected them. The worst experience is always a teacher who did not respect them. It is almost 100%. Yeah? So, in India, many people say that children should have respect for elders, which is very nice by the time you become an elder. But what is badly missing in education is respect for children. Some of the speakers clearly had it. And as long as teachers have a real, genuine, soul-based respect for children, I think all these problems go. Yeah? So I would say put respect right in the center. You cannot tell someone to love someone else. That's not going to work. But respect you can learn. Yeah? It is a very basic attitude, and your mind can play a role in creating more of it. And if we would only have genuine respect for each child that we sit in front of, that we work with, that we help, in all these details, in the technical ones, in the schooling, with the disabilities and all that, if that basic respect is there, we'll find the solutions that are needed. And so for the teacher educators, please have respect for your teacher students. So, because it is contagious and it goes on like that. So the more each one has respect for everybody else, it spreads. And I think then we can, in a very short time, have this growth of a civil society where we will really start looking after each other and doing something collaborative. We have at the moment a society which is extremely competitive. Everybody wants to earn more, get more, have more rights, da-da-da. And that comes out of the idiotic system of education that we have, which is competitive. And it doesn't need to be. I know from experience that you can have a school where children work hard, where there are no tests and no demands on the children except respecting each other. It works. Small children, if the teacher asks something, all the children want to answer. At the end of the first standard, if the teacher asks something, all the children look down because they're scared. It has gone. Okay, that's actually all I wanted to say. So, namaskar.